Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to the Christopher Kolade Foundation and Adara Foundation webinar on perspectives, navigating life after university. My name is Omobola Lano. I am the managing consultant for Christopher Kolade Foundation and a strategic advisor for Adara Foundation. So that's why we're collaborating on this project. This is an important webinar that we think that young people in their college careers or post-university should be able to benefit from to help them navigate life after school. And preparing for life after school starts now, wherever you are. It starts now. The earlier you start, the better, so that you'll be ready. So brief introduction, we hope to finish right at 11:30. So you'll be out of here as we promised by 11:30. So we are going to get right to it. Brief introduction. Our agenda today, we're going to have brief introductions of the two foundations. We are online. We're online, so you can go and read all about us online. But Christopher Kolade Foundation is focused on the girl child and promoting the girl child's participation in science and technology careers mainly, but we also deliver life and leadership skills for girls in public secondary schools. We have a scholarship program, the SOAS program. Most of our SOAS scholars will be on this call this morning, where we facilitate post-secondary careers for them through scholarships. We have other programs around sexuality and reproductive health, but all of our programming is on our website at christopherkoladefoundation.org.ng, I believe. And then Adara Foundation is focused on women and youth empowerment. We do a lot of programming around empowering women to take agency of their lives. And we do skills development, we do financial literacy programming, we do health promotion programming, we do digital skills training for youth, and a lot of other programs for women and youth to empower them just for productivity and economic empowerment. So again, Christopher Kolade Foundation can be, if you want more information about Adara Foundation, I beg your pardon, it's www.adarafoundation.org. So our agenda for today, we have 4 panelists with very, very different perspectives. I hope everyone can hear me well. You can hear me well, raise your hand. Yes, fantastic, yes. Okay, so we have 4 panelists this morning that will be giving us very, very varied perspectives about their life after college and how they navigated it. And we curated this, our panelists, because they come from very, very different, so they all have university degrees, but the paths they have forged, it's very, very different. And not unlike many of us that will be forging very different paths as we navigate our lives through school and after school. So we have a panelist who will be speaking to her life as an entrepreneur. We have a panelist who will be speaking to her life as a returnee, studied abroad, came back to Nigeria, and is forging a path in Nigeria. We have a panelist who will be speaking to her migrating out of Nigeria. She studied in Nigeria, moved out of Nigeria, is working abroad right now. How has that worked for her? How did she prepare? What really enabled that transition for her? And then we have a panelist who is freshly graduated, studied in Nigeria, and is in the world of work now, still waiting to serve, but is in the world of work. What are the things, what are the lessons they have learned along their journeys? And so very shortly, we'll go right into it, but just some housekeeping items. We would be so as we start with, I'll do introductions of the panelists shortly, but as we get into their presentations, please use the chat function to type in your questions, type in your comments, so that we will curate all of that, and at the end of their presentations, we'll take questions, but we would not be enabling the voice function, the audio function. So please type your questions. And if possible, just indicate, I think we'll do our best to kind of allocate the question to the panelists, but if possible, just indicate who you would like to answer that question, or who your question is directed at. So right away, I'll go ahead to introduce the panelists, and I'll start with Ojo Lakwe Arojo. Ojo Lakwe, can you turn on your video, if you don't mind? So Ojo Lakwe is a graduate of University of Lagos. She's a proud graduate of University of Lagos. I went to University of Ife. So University of Lagos and Ife, I think we're always competing. So there's Great Ife and Unilag. So Unilag is next to Ife. So she's a first class. She finished the first class from University of Lagos. She's a Chevening scholar. So for as much, I don't know how many of us are aware of the Chevening Scholar. It's a very prestigious scholarship, very highly competed. She's a Chevening Scholar. She has a postgraduate degree from Imperial College. That is one of the, I think, top 3 universities in the United Kingdom. She has a degree from Imperial College, and then she came back to Nigeria and has started her own business, Apple Cart. So she's an entrepreneur. And as many of you know, because of the job unemployment rates in Nigeria, a lot of youth are finding their path to entrepreneurship. So it's really important that we kind of expose our young people to that path. If you are waiting or looking for a job, what do you have to start to consider? What do you have to start to consider to forge your path in entrepreneurship while you're waiting, and what are the lessons she's learned along the way? So Ojo Olakwe, thank you for agreeing to do this for us. And we look forward to your sharing your insights. So you can leave your video on. So I'll go on to Toyosi Lano. Toyosi Lano is the returnee. Toyosi went to University of Stirling in Scotland. She has a degree in media and journalism, film media and journalism. And she returned back to Nigeria to start a non-profit William and Margaret Foundation. She has since, I think she started her career with Prime Site in the United Kingdom, is a media company, and came back to Nigeria to start a foundation. Following her time with the foundation, after she launched the foundation, she's worked for Bridge International, she's worked for Main One, she's worked for some fintech company. Toyosi, sorry, I forget. Some fintech company, and now she works for HEFA International, right? And she's the regional coordinator for HEFA International. So Toyosi, thank you also for joining us and your willingness to share your perspectives with us this morning. Next in line is Shinwa Jiboye. Shinwa, I think, likes to be called Grace, but I call her Shinwa. I'm very stubborn. I call her Shion. So Shion is a migrant. Shion has a degree from University of Lagos. I think her degree, she has an undergraduate degree as well as a master's degree in cell and genetics, I believe, University of Lagos. She spent some time, she just short window post-graduation from her master's in Nigeria, and then migrated for further studies in the United Kingdom. She has a master's in forensic science from the United Kingdom, and she's now working as a job coach with the Department of Work and Pensions in the United Kingdom. So Shion is bringing a migrant perspective to this conversation. Shion, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And last but not the least is the only man among, so we strive for gender balance, right? So Damola Lano is the recently graduated member of our panel. Damola graduated from Pan-Atlantic University. It's not Pan-Ocean, right? Damola is Pan-Atlantic. Pan-Atlantic University. He had a short stint with Regent University in Ghana, but he graduated recently last year from Pan-Atlantic, waiting to serve. But currently working as a junior associate with FSDH Capital, I believe. So Damola is bringing our recent graduate perspective, what has facilitated his transition, his pretty early transition from his student career to his work-life career, so the lessons he's learned along the way and the experiences he's learning. And Damola is a Gen Z, so he probably, Damola and maybe Shion, I'm not sure. Shion, you might be Gen Z as well, I'm not sure. So they can relate to where you're at. And so we believe that their perspectives would help, at least provide some pointers for you as we try to forge ahead. So thank you all so much. Like I said, so use the chat to type in your questions. I hear you can use the Q&A as well, whichever works for you. Just type in your questions and we'll take your questions along the way. So we'll get right into it. I think housekeeping, I think generally just use the chat, type in your questions, pay attention, and we'll be out of here in a bit. So we'll start this morning with Ojo Olakwe. Ojo Olakwe, we would like you to share with us your lessons, your entrepreneurial journey, what led to it? You have 10 minutes, so I'm sure it's a lot to pack into 10 minutes, but I'm sure you will do justice to it. You know, how did you make that transition to entrepreneurship, and what have you learned along the way? What should the young people who are considering a path in entrepreneurship, what should they start to think about? Is it a viable path? And if you are going to choose that path, what should you keep in mind as you journey along the way? For that, and if you have any perspectives on how young people can, if they should, and how they can, you know, explore opportunities for scholarships, and what that did for you, that would be helpful as well. So Jolakwe, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for having me this morning. Good morning, everybody. So I have written down a few things, and because of my time, I'll try to keep to that. Hopefully it is useful for you, and then during the Q&A, I can take any extra questions that you might have. Okay, so as has been mentioned, my first degree, I had a first class in economics, and then I have a master's in which I also got a distinction. So entrepreneurship was not a last resort. It was a choice that I made, right? I'd like to start with that foundation. And as I speak with you this morning, I would like to share with you three broad paths, I think, as a recent graduate, somebody that is considering entrepreneurship, that you can take that leads you to become an entrepreneur. And I will tell you which of these paths I've taken and how that has been for me before I talk about the second part of my presentation, which is about scholarships and international education. Okay, so the first path I would like to share is entrepreneurship after experience. So what does that mean? Getting out of school immediately, you work for a while, let's say 2 to 3 years to 5 years, and then afterwards you decide to start a business and pursue it full time. What does this path offer you? The first thing it does is that you get to interact with colleagues, you get to work in a structured environment, you get to learn how organizations are operated, especially if you have the opportunity to work in a larger size organization. So we're talking 50, 100, 500 employees. You are interacting across different departments. You are getting to see how things are run. Why is this important? Eventually, you can gain transferable knowledge when you do decide to start your own business. You can take that knowledge into your business and be able to use that to build your own organization. Okay, so that is path one for those who are considering entrepreneurship. Work for a while and then start off your own business. Path two, I have called entrepreneurship as a side hustle. What does that mean? Essentially, you have a 9 to 5 job on the one hand, and then you have a business on the other hand. There's something my sister said to me, that she loves the convenience of a paycheck and doesn't think that she can ever be an entrepreneur. What that simply means is that at the end of the month, I'm tempted to say a Yoruba phrase, but that phrase just simply means that whether the business sells, whether there's revenue or not, your paycheck will always come in. You will always receive your salary. So what this helps you do is that you have a safety net, right? The 9 to 5 is there. Your salary every 22nd or whether it's 25th, your account is ringing pakam and you are seeing your alert. And then on the other hand, as a side hustle, you are able to pursue your idea, whatever great idea that you have. Yes, you are enjoying the best of both worlds, but be aware that it can be very challenging, right? So everybody else is doing 9 to 5. You are doing the before the 9. If we say that you're doing the 9 to 5 strictly on your job, you're doing the before the 9 on your side hustle. You are doing the after the 9 p.m. on your side hustle. So it will challenge you more. And then the last option is entrepreneurship without experience. So you're just out of school and then you jump into it. My personal journey is closer to the third option. I worked for 6 months as an intern, and then I started a business. Now, this particular option, you're going in, I won't want to use the word blind, but again, you can't compare it to the experience that you've had working with a business and then starting your own thing. With this as well, you haven't built enough savings, right? So when you're starting, you must be willing to earn a little before you then grow into it. However, with this path, right, you get to forge your own way. And that is something that I think you can look at, so somebody who is just finishing school, which of these three I think would best work for you would be determined by what's your personality like, right? What are your priorities at this time? For some people, you don't have the privilege, you don't have the, I don't want to use the word privilege, but you don't have the, I'm not sure the right word to use, but you don't have the opportunity at this time to say, okay, I want to start a business and be earning small until I grow into it. Sometimes you have certain demands financially that push you to say, okay, let me start with the experience route or start with the side hustle route. So I just wanted to present those three options. But no matter whichever one that you choose, especially if you choose path 3, which is without experience, you start off a business, you would need a lot of grit. You need tenacity. I talked earlier about the safety net that a salary offers you. With entrepreneurship, just like a hunter that goes into the field, whatever you catch is what you can eat. With entrepreneurship, whatever you make in terms of revenue is what you can pay yourself. And when you do have people on your payroll, you have staff, you have people working with you, you would typically prioritize them before it gets to you. So you must be aware of that. You also need resilience. Business is often a case of ebbs and flows, right? There are highs, there are lows. You need to be able to weather those storms with resilience. You need to have that flexibility that, okay, even when things are very, very, so for example, let me give you an example of the kind of business that I run. I do food, right? And sometimes seasons like Christmas are much more busy compared to the rest of the year because, again, Christmas is a time when people like to spend a lot of money. So you can expect that in that period, there will be a lot of revenue. But other times of the year, it's a bit more unpredictable, right? So you must be able to, flow as things go high, you know how to adjust. As things come low, you know how to adjust. And the final thing I would say on this section of entrepreneurship is that at the end of the day, you should be able to collaborate, right? I've been a solopreneur for the longest time. However, I rely on family and friends to be able to gain certain types of knowledge. So, for example, I have a friend, Percy is she's into communications. I'm always saying, you're our communications manager, for example. So you need to learn to collaborate with people. You don't have to go at it alone. They always say, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. Yes, it's true. However, by partnering, by collaborating, you may want to start off as a team as opposed to doing a one-man business. That would help you to draw on the strengths of others while building your business. So I'd like to round up that section on entrepreneurship by saying that during the Q&A, if you have more specific questions, I would be happy to take them. Speaking on scholarship opportunities and how to position yourself for them, I am a Chevening scholar. So I got the Chevening scholarship, right? That was 2015. And what Chevening does is they pay for your tuition, that's your school fees. They give you a monthly allowance for rent and feeding, and then they pay for your visa. I call it an all expense paid scholarship, right? And in positioning yourself for opportunities like this, my first tip for you is do not exclude yourself. Let me give you an example. I had a friend who she finished with a HND, Higher National Diploma. She did not have a BSc from Nigeria, and she got a Chevening scholarship. Again, I'm speaking from experience. This was about 10 years ago that she applied. And at that time, Chevening, for example, did not care what your first degree was. The question was, can you get into a UK university for your master's? And if you could secure that admission, you could get a Chevening scholarship. That's just putting it generally, apart from other criteria that you needed to fulfill, right? So my first point is don't exclude yourself. Don't have that mentality that, Tutu, can it even get an international scholarship, right? The next thing, again, then goes with number one, which is research. Understand what opportunities there are out there. If she did not try, if she didn't reach out to me and ask, okay, I have HNBO, can I actually get Chevening? She would not have known, right? So put in the work to research what are the opportunities that suit your interests, stroke your education capabilities at this time. So maybe you finished the 2-1, you finished with the first class, what are the opportunities that suit that? And the final thing is understand the terms and conditions. Okay, so let me give an example. One of the things that Chevening says is you must return to your home country for 2 years. So if you wanted to take the route that Sheung did and migrate, Chevening is not the best option, because once you're done with your master's, you must return for 2 years to stay in Nigeria. So understand the terms and conditions. And I think I'll just add one more. Be ready for the work. For example, Chevening had 4 essays, right? We had a physical interview, and then there was a conditional offer before a final offer. A lot of people say, that's a lot of stress. So, but again, they were giving you, I don't know, 40,000 pounds. That is quite an amount of money. So they needed to understand that you as a candidate would be able to make the best of that investment. So be ready for the work and engage your family and friends. I had interview prep, mock interviews. I would have my family, my friends, these are some possible questions. Interview me. What's your feedback? So prepare to have those, what's it called? Prepare to write essays, prepare to have interviews if necessary, put in the work, and hopefully, you're able to secure scholarships like that help you to school abroad. I'll stop now. I hope I'm still within my time, and hand over back to Ms. Omobola. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ojolakwe. Thank you. A lot of pointers there. A quick recap of some of the points Ojolakwe made. So for those of us, can I ask those of us who are considering entrepreneurship or are kind of into some kind of entrepreneurship, can you just indicate by raising your hand? Use the icons, raise your hand. And if you have questions for Ojolakwe, please use, I understand the chat box might not work for you. So use the Q&A and just type in your questions. We'll get your questions that way. So there's a Q&A icon. Just type in your questions there and we will curate the questions for Ojolakwe. So we have only just one person considering entrepreneurship. That's interesting. Okay, 2 people now considering entrepreneurship. So for those of us, so there's entrepreneurship after experience, entrepreneurship as a side hustle, and the solo entrepreneur who just jumps right in, which is the path that Ojolakwe took, and whether or not what path you choose will depend on the resources available to you, your personality, what kind of risk you are willing to take. I think a very important point on the scholarship angle that she shared is do your research. The Chevening Scholarship is not the only scholarship out there. There are tons of scholarship. There are scholarships tied to universities. There's some universities I just stumbled on LinkedIn the other day, a young lady who had applied for a scholarship. She had applied to the University of Mississippi. She got admission, but no funding, and she didn't have money. So she sent letters to all the faculty members she could, begging them to just give her some kind of graduate assistantship. No response. So this application was done. Admission was gotten in December. She said all of a sudden she got an email from a faculty requesting an interview, and she was fully funded. Eventually, one of those letters hit the mark. She was fully funded. She got all expense paid. I think she only had to pay for her ticket, but her tuition was paid. She got a graduate assistantship, and she had resumed at the University of Mississippi. America has a ton of a lot of American universities have those kind of scholarship opportunities. So there are also those prestigious Chevening. There's Chevening. There's is it Margaret McNamara? Like, are you familiar with that? There's so many prestigious scholarships that we could reach for. So research, ask questions, and be willing to just check on LinkedIn. There are people you can do searches on LinkedIn and just reach out to people who might have gotten some of the scholarships to ask for tips to help you with it. So I hope that we've learned a thing or two. Type your questions. We'll take your questions for Ojolakwe. All right, we'll go right on to Toyosi. Toyosi is the returnee. So Toyosi, we are looking that you would help us answer some questions around how you navigated your way in the Nigerian job market from somebody who lived abroad, worked abroad, studied abroad, and worked abroad, and coming to Nigeria, and you've kind of job hopped, really. I mean, you've done what, 5 jobs since you worked in 5 places, so since you came to Nigeria. So so tell us your journey and what have you learned along the way as a young person getting to the world of work? What did the Nigerian work environment teach you, that those on the call can learn from?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lana, and thank you to everybody in Adara and CK for having me today. And good morning again, everybody. So yes, I am the returnee. And in this dispensation, don't worry, I've heard everything you're going to say. You came back. So I'm just going to say that, yes, I did just come back. But just reflecting on my own experience and returning to Nigeria after studying and working abroad, I think I've learned that finding your footing and growing in the Nigerian market requires a unique set of approaches, or if you've ever watched a movie, Taken, a unique set of skills. But I'll share that, and there's 6. But to get to that, I'll just share a bit of my journey so that when I start sharing the 6, it provides context. So yes, I did study in Nigeria for secondary school, but I left shortly after that. So UK, I was quite young, I was 15, but I decided to chart the path of mass comm, as you know it in Nigeria, but specifically film media and journalism at the University of Stirling in Scotland. Now, after graduating, I started a career in outdoor media. You know, I was trying to keep the path of study what you live, but it's just outdoor media is a big word for saying billboards. But even then, I think working there, I realized that something was missing. Now, in all of these years, I happen to grow up in a family where there's a lot of passion for development work. There's a lot of passion for impact, for reach, for making a difference. And now combining that with another passion of mine, which was communications, I just felt something was missing. And along the way, I was just like, okay, I'll keep plodding the path of work. I was privileged to work abroad. I'm going to do that path. But I think that defining moment happened in 2014, the Chibok kidnapping. And I was like, you know what? I want to be part of a movement that brings back civil engagement and social consciousness back to Nigeria. And so I decided to come back home to open a foundation called William and Margaret Foundation. And under this foundation, we had the initiative Nigeria Unites. And this was to encourage civic engagement and social consciousness using the arts through concerts, recognizing individuals and organizations, making a difference in society. But as you know, passion does not always pay the bills. So I moved back, and to sustain the foundation, I took a job at the National Media House. It was a one-man business. Now imagine living the predictable, structured, HR supports you, protects you, coming to, you know, a one-man business where as it feels, that's how you're going to receive your day. Don't let me say more. But I realized that wasn't for me. Not because, yes, I do believe that working for structure and having the protection as an employee is important, but because, again, I came back for a purpose, which was development. And I found that something was missing. I had to go back and say, okay, I want a job in development space. So I joined Bridge. Now, joining Bridge, which was the second defining moment, I'd done this interview, I'd come back and I said, Mr. Anna, you got the job, but where's your NYC certificate? Now imagine a returnee. I was like, I've heard that you don't need a certificate. So you have to get a certificate or you can't work here. However, if you're willing, you can volunteer. Now, for a lot of people, you would think volunteering is like a no-no, but I did. It was a year of volunteering. It wasn't easy because it was stipended, but I did all of that work because I had a purpose. I wanted to understand the market. Bridge supports education for young children in marginalized communities. From Bridge, I continued working for Main One, different places, but I landed back again at Heifer International. Heifer International is an organization that, you know, works to support, is a nonprofit organization that works to support smallholder farmers thrive, giving them, you know, a respectable income across the world. My job is to share the narratives. I'm a regional comms coordinator. But all of this is to say that in all of this journey, I kept my true north. And this path has distilled very clear key things for me. And I'll start with the first one. Adaptability is everything. Now, the Nigerian job market rarely, if ever, mirrors the structures you may know abroad, or you've heard, or you've seen in TV. Oh, it looks great. It doesn't work like that. Systems can be inconsistent. Roles can be undefined. But being flexible, willing to learn the Nigeria way, and finding your rhythm is essential, especially in imperfect systems. That was key for me. It was, how do I navigate all of what I have known? Trust me, coming back, Bridge was, I was hopping bus. I said I'll never hop bus when I came back. I came back a soft girl. I was hopping bus to places that a lot of you have not even heard of in the hinterlands of Lagos. So adaptability is key. Now, passion is great, but it doesn't fuel sustainability. You have to ground it in practicality, right? Yes, your passion moves you and motivates you to push boundaries, but it won't pay the bills. So I came back with the passion for this foundation when I want to civic engagement. I want to be part of a system, breaking boundaries, but I needed to sustain it. So whether through a side hustle, freelance gig, or steady role, balance your dreams with practical income streams, allowing your passion to grow and to sustain. This is not to say, so you can have both. You can have both. You don't have to give up your dream because you're trying to be in the practical world. You can have a focus and say, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to get there, but I need the aid. It's perfectly okay. The first speaker, Ojulape, said, embrace resilience, and you need grit. And I say it's something that it's not spoken about enough. Now, it is my cousin that the Gen Z generation is a very woke generation. The littlest things like, I'm over it. But working in Nigeria will test you. It will test you. It tested me. Inconsistent systems, navigating one-man businesses, no shade to my fellow panelists, but we have seen some nightmare situations. So resilience is not about surviving. It's learning to improvise, solve problems on the go, keep your momentum even when the structures are not perfect. Add more value. So it's you're saying that things are never going to work in your favor. I worked for an organization in one of the four, I won't mention which specific, where I said if I wasn't depressed, it was beginning to give me early stages of depression because it was changing. There was a lot of office politics. There was a lot of navigating the Nigerian way. But I had a clear goal. It was like, wherever I am, I'm going to add the best value I have. I'm going to come here with a disposition that brings in sun. I'm going to be the light in that situation. Solve problems rather than complain about the problems. What is the solution to that? So just embrace that resilience. Be resourceful. Don't be bucketed by this is the role, so I'm going to stay in this role. Always add more. And build networks. That's number 4. Build networks and relationships. Yes, you have the grades. They matter. But in Nigeria, one of the things that I would say is that trust and relationships also open doors just as fast. So invest in mentors, alumni groups, industry networks, professional circles. A lot of opportunities in Nigeria flow through people who know you and believe in you. So it could be through your church group where they're saying, oh, come be a member of the media unit. It could be through extracurricular activity. You love to play sports. Oh, we need this person in this team or in this field here. What is the best you're putting in? How are you building that network? How are you leveraging your network and your relationships? I have like a minute left. I'm going to wrap it up fast, but don't always hesitate to reach out and ask for guidance. People are willing to help, similar to what Lapi said about relationships and partnerships. So number 5, stay mission driven. They say, keep your true north. That's at the end of the day, it is keep your compass. For me, in all of what I did, it was knowing that I wanted to make an impact. So left a job because, I wanted to be impactful. So your job titles will change, but your why should remain steady. What is your why? Mine was keeping focused on social impact and development work, but knowing your purpose gives you resilience. When the path isn't clear, when it's not linear, it keeps you focused on building that meaningful career. And as the moderator said, not just collecting jobs. So it might look like I collected jobs, but they're all in line with my purpose, impact work. And finally, in the last 20 seconds, I'll say build for the long term. Success in Nigeria and in this market is never always immediate. The Nigerian market rewards persistence, it rewards consistency, it rewards just showing up and turning up. So that unpaid internship is okay. That tough start is okay. That small role that feels insignificant, it's also okay, but it often helps towards this bigger opportunities, a stepping stone. So if you stay consistent, show up and add value, then trust me, it will pay off. It's not going to be easy, but it will pay off. So thank you. I think that's my 6 and that's my time up. Open for questions, and I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, TLC. Whether you like it or not, you've been collecting jobs. We hope that that's minimal as you journey on. Thank you so much. So quick summary of some of the points. I mean, you said you had 5 points, but I have, so some of my key takeaways from all you've shared, flexibility, adaptability, your passion should be grounded in practicality, keep your momentum, even if the systems are imperfect or broken. You know, wherever I am, I want to add the best value I can. Build your network, invest in trust relationships, invest in developing trust relationships, stay mission driven. What is defined, determine what is your why, so that that keeps you going when everything is falling apart, and build for the long term. You know, so thank you for sharing those thoughts. Please, if you have questions for Toyosi, we have some questions for Lakwe. We'll take all the questions at the end. So if you have questions for Toyosi, use the Q&A icon, just type in your questions. We'll take your questions at the end, once all the panelists are done with their session. All right, so we're down to Shenwa Jiboye. Shenwa will tell us about her journey, so that those of us who are thinking, you know, I need to get out of here as soon as possible. As soon as I have a chance, I'm out of Nigeria. Shenwa will tell us how that happened for her. Maybe not necessarily the why, but if you want to share the why, of course, please feel free to. And what you needed to do, whether consciously or unconsciously, that prepared you for that migration. And for those who are thinking of migrating, some of the lessons you've learned living in a different country, Nigeria, and what were your expectations and all of that. Please, and keeping in mind the young people we are speaking to, how can they start to prepare now? For those of them considering life after school abroad, what should they keep in mind? How can they start to prepare for that? So Shem.
All right. Thank you so much. And yeah, so we're talking about my journey now, coming from Nigeria and moving into the UK. And what our two panelists have said earlier, I will just build straightly on what Ujolakpe said, sorry. And that is, she gave us the 3 parts that you can do if you are if you want to become an entrepreneur. But for me, I did learn fashion design when I was really young. Like in university, I had one long holiday and I decided to learn fashion designing. It's not because I was not from a from a business background, so I didn't really know anything about the business side of things, but I was just passionate about fashion design and I said I was going to do that at some point. So when I finished school, while waiting for NYSC, I was growing a business, even though I didn't have structure to it. So I started it, I was making clothes for people, I was getting money. So this was like side hustle for me. But at that time it was my main job. But I still desired to learn something from a 9 to 5 because that gives structure because I didn't know anything about structure. So doing a 9 to 5 was like the utmost on my mind. And for like most of us, you would go for a master's degree because you've not gotten a job yet. And that was my case at the time. I did a master's degree because I felt that was like the next possible thing. I always like to have plan B, C, D, A, B, C, D. So if this does not work out, I have a plan B, I have a plan C, I have a plan D. So I went on to uni. I did like my master's again. It was during the master's actually that I started working. I started my 9 to 5. And this was a good part for me in that I was happy I could do something structured work. Ojolakwe called it having a safety net. I like a safety net. So I had a safety net. That way I'm not worried about my bills. I had something to pay my bills. And I also had my side also, and I was also schooling at the same time. It was not the best of times because I was struggling a lot, but we went through that. So coming to when I decided to actually go for further study is because I'd always wanted to do forensic science, and there was no forensic science in Nigeria at the time, like no masters in forensic science. So I knew I had to go out to do something, and I did make an application, not because I was really, at the time, I didn't really want to travel out because I was okay doing the job in Nigeria. I was fine in Nigeria, and I thought I could grow. All I wanted to do was grow, do my business, grow in my 9 to 5 as well. But the opportunity came, and what I would say there and then is always be open, because I was always an open person. When the opportunity came, I went for it. And I'll take you through how I prepared for that, because you don't jump into, I've come here and I've seen a lot of people who came here to study without being prepared, and it's not been great for them. Some of them had to go back, and some of them, they are here but they are struggling, and they can't make the best of the study they came here for. So that's one. um my experience, let me take us through my experience as a programs coordinator. That's the first job I did. That was very important for me as a foundation, because I'd never been in work before. I wanted to know what it meant to be in work. I wanted to know how it works, and what lessons I could learn from that. And to be fair, that was very important when I moved here, because without that foundation, I would have struggled a lot here with getting a job with my study. Coming here, you need to be able to pay for your bills, so you need to be prepared, financial wise. So without being able to get a job, you would suffer a bit, and that's part of the planning we're talking about. So one, you need to research well the costs. I remember at the time as well, when I was telling Miss Mobola, then she was the one I was working with. So I was telling her that I was traveling for this course, and I know she kept telling me one thing. She said, "Have you researched this course well? Are you sure that this course you're going for is one that you can thrive with in the UK?" And she was saying it, but I was like, I'm just interested in it, so I'm going. And that was something that was like a big shock to me when I got here, because when I got here, I realized that the course I wanted to do, I cannot work in that course because it's got nationality requirements. So you must have been residing in the UK for at least 3 years before you can find a job in that course. So that way, that's one thing that is highlighting the need to research well. That's something I did not do before coming here. I didn't research that, so I did not know that this course I'm going for, I would not be able to work in it when I finish. So it's important to research well. It's important to know that whatever course, because I was spending a lot of money to come down here to study, but what was the long-term plan? And this brings me to what Toyosi said. You need to be adaptable, and that was what kept me going, despite the fact that I knew that, okay, it was quite disappointing to know that I was coming to do a course that I might not be able to get a job in immediately. I needed to be adaptable. Okay, now we are here. What next? So that what next is a question I always ask myself. What next? That's be adaptable. And the important for finance is you should have your basics before you decide to come here. If not, it affects everything. And I would say the same applies for when you are applying for a job. If you apply for a job, you're attending an interview, because you want something so desperately, you might not be, if you want something so desperately, you might mess it up. And that's why you need to be at a place of stability in order to move forward. You need to be stable to some extent in order to grow. So that stability of, I've sorted my basic needs, I've got a place to sleep, I've got food to eat. That way, when you're looking for a job, you're coming here with the mind that I've got some form of foundation and I just need to get a job to sustain me. that's fine. But most people come to the UK without having that foundation, and they get here, and instead of asking the right questions, instead of asking for how they can get a job, they're asking people for help. Please help me with my feeding. Please help me with a place to sleep. And if you are not asking the right questions, you just find that you are at the same spot for a very long time, which does not help anybody. Another part is skills and employability. Without the foundation I had in Nigeria, I would have struggled a lot with getting a job here. And most of the jobs, I remember as a student, I applied for 3 student roles. I got the 3 student roles. And what did I use as a proof of my ability to do these roles? It's what I had done in Nigeria before I came. So the job I did, that was what formed the foundation for me. I was able to say that I've got the skills, I've built this, I've done this. And then it was so easy for me to get into work. 2 weeks into my stay in the UK, I started working, and I have not stopped working ever since. I've just been working, and that's because I had that foundation of work from the start and just growing on it. From the student job, I was able to get experience in the UK, which took me up to where I am at the moment. I don't know if I've overshot my time yet. I was not looking. But what I would say is that you need to be determined, you need to be flexible, you need to be intentional about your growth. One thing I tell people is make a CV, make like a resume of who you want to be 5 years from now, and work towards being that person. Make that CV, and then look at what that person needs, and begin to tick, okay, I've done this. Now I have achieved this. If it's a certification you need to get, I've got this certification, you tick that. If it's whatever it is, just walk through your resume and walk steadily until you get to there. And I would say that be patient. It's okay to start small. You need to be perseverant, because it's not, that first job you do might not pay you what you want. You just need to be patient, persevere, and you will get there at the end of the day. That's what I would say. I'm happy to take questions at the end. Yeah, I would stop for now.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Very insightful, and I'm sure your commentary and presentation would have been of interest to most, because a lot of Nigerians are looking to go abroad. So how many of us are thinking, as soon as my school is over, I'm going to Japa? Can you raise your hand? You are planning on Japa and joining Sharon in the United Kingdom. 7, 8, still counting 9, 11, 12. So if you have questions for Sharon, type them in the chat. Type questions. So we point out something you'd like to know about that she still hasn't touched on. Just type them in the chat. But I'll just very quickly go over some of the points Sharon has made. Work experience is required wherever you go. For you to be able to kind of make a transition into the world of work, people are looking for what have you done, what skills do you have. So every opportunity to build your skills base, please take advantage. Whether it's a volunteer opportunity, I think it was Toyosi that mentioned, whether it's a family business that you can work in, whether it's a church volunteer activity where you can sharpen or grow your skill, please take advantage of every work experience. Research is important. I think Ojo Olakwe, as well as Toyosi, I think she and Ojo Olakwe kind of have done the importance of research, adaptability. Have your basics if you're planning to travel abroad. And most of you are probably Shemu's commentary about people getting stranded, returning back. I mean, you've not even heard the half of it. It's real. So and I think another point she made about, if you don't have the basics covered, you'll be distracted, you'll be desperate, and desperation makes you make choices that will not be in your best interest. So please do your research, have the basics, do whatever you can to prepare before that trip, so that when you get there, it will be, maybe there's nothing easy about forging ahead, but at least it will make it a lot easier for you. Build bridges. wherever it is you're working, most of these jobs abroad, references are important. Maybe in Nigeria, I don't think references are as important in Nigeria, but abroad, references are important. So if you're working somewhere, no matter how horrible the experience, Toyosi spoke about broken systems, expectations not met, just make sure that you don't burn bridges so that when you need, so don't think I'm just going to leave, I'm going to leave that woman, I'm going to leave that man, I'm going to leave that small business and whatever with them. Just keep in mind that you may need a reference from them tomorrow and you want to keep that door open. She spoke about building your skills base. It was the work she did here in Nigeria that helped her with being able to say, I have the skill, I have the experience, I'm the one you should hire. Be determined, be intentional about your growth. And one that I really liked is build whoever you want to be in 5 years. Write that CV out, whoever you want to be, whether it's the skills base you want to have, the person you want to be, so that you can have that as a measuring stick. As you progress in life, you see whether your journey is taking you there or it's deviating from that. And that CV does not have to be cast in stone. That CV, as you become more aware of who you want to be or what you want to be, that CV can be, right, Sheon? You can adapt that CV, as you move along. So please type your questions for Sheon in the Q&A chat box, and we will take it all at the end of our time of the panelist presentation. So we're going to go right on and have Damola share about his experience as a recently graduated young professional. So Damola, so you finished school last year, I think last year, October. I think you started working within a month or two of your graduation from school. And you've been in the world of work, in the corporate world since then. So can you tell us about what you did leading up to your graduation? What happened? What really helped facilitate that transition for you? And what you're learning, you've been in the world of work now for probably almost a year now. What are you learning that those on this chat might want to keep in mind as they prepare for the world of work? What are the lessons you're learning as a Gen Z? What were your Gen Z struggles in the world of work? What should Gen Zs be aware of? What do you see your colleagues struggling with? So what are the lessons that those on this call need to take away?
Okay, good morning, everyone, and a big thank you once again to the CKF Foundation and Adara Foundation for this opportunity. My fellow panelists have spoken on a lot of my points already, so I believe I'm just going to give a different perspective from everyone, a recent graduate perspective from what everyone has said, and talk about things that worked, things that didn't work, the things that I've noticed, and what I think everyone else should pay attention to when or to try their very best to succeed. So a lot of times when I was thinking about my life after university, I just imagined that, once I graduate, everything would be clear and cut. I know where I want to work. I know what I'm going to do. I know where life is going to take me. But finishing and being at home for just over a month made me realize that there's so much more you could do, or so much more that I could have done, that I feel like if I had the opportunity to go back and redo some certain things, there's certain things that I would change about how my own journey went. So for me, university wasn't just about classes. It was also learning how to manage opportunities, responsibilities, relationships with people. I found that the habits and the structures that you put in place while you're in school, like balancing your schoolwork with your extracurricular work, your volunteer work, and all those other things, they all became very useful once I started work. A very important thing I've learned is that exposure is everything. It's very easy to sit in your comfort zone and just remain comfortable, and you're like, okay, you just want to read and write your exam and be done with school. But in my almost a year of experience, I've learned that the corporate world demands much more. And I have now realized that you need to continuously invest in yourself, whether through certificates, online courses, or just simply like educating yourself on whatever sector it is you're looking to go into, or even doing research. We have sites that offer courses that you can do. We have Udemy, we have EDX, LinkedIn Learning. There's also Skillshare, which I think most of the courses there are paid, but it's still a resource that people can use. I've also learned that you don't need to limit yourself to what you're studying in school. I'm very sure that we have a couple of people who are students but have businesses on the side. So you could have someone studying medicine, for example, who bakes cakes on the side, or someone studying accounting who runs like a trading business on the side. And all these things also, they also like speak to your person. So you don't need to be studying finance to write ACCA or ICANN. Like these are all things that, you can go online and find courses that you're interested in, and then you just go ahead and do it. And then when you do these skills, you get certificates, you work on yourself. It shows employers also they are very willing to learn. You're very eager to, continuously work on yourself. You're willing to grow. You're not just sitting in one place and remaining comfortable all the time. And there's also volunteering. I've volunteered with both Christopher Kolade Foundation and Adara Foundation, and it helps. I can testify that it helps build your social skills. You get to work with different people from different areas of life, and it opens your eyes to the real life beyond what it is that you've grown up around. You also get to help people, and there's really no greater joy than knowing that you make a difference in someone's life, or you're making a difference in someone's life in one way or the other. And besides the benefits to the community, whatever way you're trying to impact the community, which is what you should be thinking about first, there's also the benefits to you as an individual. It sets you apart from someone who just sits in school and you're like, okay, I'm going to read, write my exam, go home, do an internship. You're not learning anything from the internship. You go back to school again, you're reading, writing exams. So it's like when you volunteer, when you're learning different skills, it sets you apart from people who, are just remaining comfortable in their own position. So I think to sum it all up, there's three things that I have learned now that make a difference in the corporate world. So firstly is your work ethic. You need to show up prepared, take initiative, and be willing to do the small tasks. So a lot of times you might see these small tasks as, oh, it's redundant, or it's too much work, or you're sending you to go and write letters or review presentations, or just things that you would in the medical field, they call it Scott's work. That's just like the base foundation of everything. It might not seem like anything to you, but then when you start to pay attention to this small task that you're doing, you're rereading presentations, you're working on slides for people, you're helping people draft letters, it gives you a wider perspective of what that sector is really about. It gives you a greater understanding of the ecosystem. It's from those presentations, those letters that you're working on, that you begin to learn how the system really works and or the foundation that system has grown on. The second thing for me is relationships. The people you meet in school, the people you meet around you, people you meet from volunteering, those people can open doors that you never even knew existed. So you need to learn to build real connections. Everybody should have a LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is basically the corporate social media. Everybody is on LinkedIn. You can connect to people, send messages to people, reach out to people. Ms. Mabala had said earlier about story about the lady who was sending emails to the faculty of the school. I'm pretty sure that she just went online to Google one or two people in the school, went in their LinkedIn, got their email, got their contact somehow, reached out to them. But you don't even have to wait till you need something to reach out to people. Just reach out to them and you can be like, oh, you're also looking to go into this career. What have they learned from their experience so far? Not everybody will reply you, but I'm pretty sure if you send a message to like 10 people, at least 2 or 3 of them will reply you. And I think the final thing for me is curiosity. So don't just sit down and do what they're giving you to do and leave it as that. Don't just do your job. You need to ask why, understand how the system works. That curiosity that is in you is what changes you from just a random employee to someone people see as valuable. You might think that you're being annoying by asking too many questions. I felt that way before. You might think that, oh, they're probably just thinking that I'm always asking questions, I don't know anything. But it's better to be seen as annoying than for someone to assume that you don't have any interest in what's that's going on around the organization. And I remember Toyosi also mentioned focusing on the long term, even if those jobs you think you're doing might be insignificant, which speaks to the first point again about your work ethic. those jobs that you're thinking are, oh, am I not just writing a letter? Am I not just printing a document? Those things, whatever you can learn from those things, you will learn. So for example, from writing letters, you learn how to format documents. From presentations, you build your skills on creating slides, be it on PowerPoint or Google Slides or Canva. So they're just things that you should learn. Don't look at the gain in it for you now. You need to focus on, okay, if I do this now, I've learned this now, what can you learn next? What can you do next? How can you build on what you've learned already? And finally, I'd say your degree and your degree, so be it a first class, if you're a first class graduate, 2-1, 2-2, it would get you into certain jobs, but what will really keep you there is your character, your mindset, your emotional connection with people, your ability to socialize properly with people, your ability to just relate to people on like it doesn't always have to be so with respect, with like in a professional way, yes, but also even outside the workspaces when you guys have like team building experiences or you have like team dinners, you need to learn to be able to hold conversations and learn from other people's experience and share your experiences too. Preparing for work doesn't just start after you finish university. It starts from now for those of us that are actually in university. So what do you want to do? What skills can you learn? What skills can you add to yourself? We all have resources. We all have Google. We have, AI now where you can ask it questions, almost like you're having a conversation with a person. And even like I mentioned earlier, also going on LinkedIn to just look for people who are in a similar career or have followed a similar career path that you are looking into also. And just send them a message, send them a DM, ask them questions, try to learn from their own experiences. You can even just go through people's LinkedIn profiles and see, okay, this person is in consulting, for example, they did a degree in this place, they got a certificate from this place. It's just being willing to like do your research and take your time and try to continuously work on yourself would show up, you'll get a reward for that in the long run. And standing out doesn't just mean being the loudest in the room or trying to show off what you have. It's just being consistent, being reliable. You know that they can trust you to do certain things, they trust you to deliver your work, and being very intentional about your growth also. And finally, for people who not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur. Some people are like Ojolape had said, they want that comfort of, okay, on the 22nd, on 23rd and 25th, you know that you have a safety net, there's always money coming in. For those who are looking to be corporate professionals, even for those who are looking to go into like a more freelance kind of job, like the digital or graphic design, video editing, all those things that, you don't really need to have a degree needs to go into them. It's just putting yourself out there, trying your best to develop yourself. And for those who are looking to be corporate professionals, don't wait till you start to allow the corporate world to shape the kind of person you want to be. I believe that you can start now by working on yourself and start shaping yourself today so that by the time you get there, nothing comes to you as a complete shock. So I think let me just end it there. That's pretty much everything I have to say. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave it in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, Damola. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping that our colleagues on the call have made their notes. I will go over some of the key summary, my key learnings from your presentation. And I think the very first, number one is exposure is everything, so, but I hope that maybe at the end of the session, some of the sites where you say that people can learn from, if you can share them with us so that everyone who registered for this course, we can send to them. And so they can start to look at, especially the sites where they can learn at no cost. If you can share them with us so that we can share with everyone on the call, that would be great. So expose yourself to the right people, expose yourself to a variety of learning opportunities, just broaden your skills. And I think you spoke about volunteering, and I want to tie that back to Ojolape's presentation around college applications and essays. A lot of times for this scholarship opportunities, or even just plain admission in school, most of those postgraduate colleges abroad will require that you write essays, right, Ojo Olakwe? And you are really scored highly on those essays. And sometimes they'll ask you to write about a volunteer experience, community engagement. So even if you don't really want to have impact in life, you are not interested in helping people, but you are looking you're looking at the possibility of some kind of postgraduate studies abroad, please get involved in community, so at least you have a story to tell, so that it's not an AI generated community engagement story that you are telling, because most of the time people can sift through that. So please get involved in community. And I think Damola also spoke about work ethic. Show up, be prepared, take initiative, take responsibility. That is quite wanting in the world of work. I do a lot of hiring. I supervise quite a bit of people across organizations, and very few people can stand the test of work ethic. Very, very few. So if you do have very good, very strong work ethic, you will stand out. You will stand out in the world of work. He spoke about Scotting. Do every work that's available. Nothing is too big. Nothing is too small. That you finished from school, you are looking to just go and make a difference and just be a boss, but they're asking you to go and make copies. I mean, Damola worked with an organization where I think for a while he was just scanning, correct? You were just scanning papers and just scanning and saving. That's all he was doing, right? So, but it's a skill, right? I mean, so there's nothing, so whether it's scanning and saving or just making copies, or just sometimes you are in good company, you're in the company of people, while you're scanning and saving, you're learning about systems, you're learning about structures. So don't minimize any kind of work that comes your way. Relationships. I think all of our panelists have spoken about the importance of relationships. Those are really, really important. I think Damola was quite pointed about it. He said, when your degree might get you through the door, but what will keep you there is your character, your mindset, and your social skills. So for those of us, I mean, if you are self-aware enough, you struggle with relationships, please start working on yourself. Ask for feedback. Ask those around you, am I too loud? Am I too harsh? So they can give you feedback. So standing out, being consistent, being reliable, and being intentional about your growth. So if you have questions for Damola, please type it in the chat. I will start running. I'm going to try to run through the questions. There's some on the Q&A, there's some on the chat. So let me start with the Q&A questions. Give me a moment. Okay, so I think the first questions are a question for Ojo Olakwe. I think there are several questions on scholarship, so I'll just try to read through them so she can take them together. Ojo Olakwe, does applying for the scholarships abroad mean you abandon your course of study in school after you have been selected? Okay, so it's on the screen. So Ojo Olakwe, so the question there for you, let me see if there's another one so that you can take it together. So she asked, there's another question about what were some of the interview questions you were asked while applying for the Chevney scholarship? Ojo Olakwe, I don't know if you remember the questions, but so that's another question regarding the scholarship. So should you abandon school? What happens if you are given the scholarship if you apply while you're in school? Should you abandon? Does that mean you would have to abandon school? What are some of the interview questions you were asked when you were preparing for the scholarship? Let me see what else. I think those are the two scholarship related questions. If you can take them, Ojo Olakwe. I think there's an entrepreneurship question. Can you put up Ojo Olakwe's entrepreneurship question as well, so that she can just take her questions together? Okay. So the first one, please go back. I'm a law student, so my question is master's opportunities outside for a law student, considering the fact that I can't practice in the country apart from Nigeria. So she's saying, should I pursue a master's out of the country if to practice in Nigeria? Do I really need a master's? And then the other one, the next one, please, for Ojo Olakwe. What should anticipating entrepreneurs know before starting out into entrepreneurship? So if you can take that very quickly, Ojo Olakwe. And while Ojo Olakwe walks through her questions, we are going to post the link on the maybe on the chat, so that it's a survey to just get your thoughts on how the session went, what we should think about, what other sessions we think about delivering. So if you can just take a moment and complete the survey, that will be great. Ojo Olakwe.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the questions. I think I saw something else about also essays, but let me start with the question about should you abandon school? It depends on the opportunity you're applying for. For example, if you are in an undergraduate course and you apply for an undergraduate degree and they give you that opportunity, then you may weigh your options and decide, okay, so maybe you are in year 2 of computer science at a Nigerian university and they've just offered you an opportunity to school abroad, doing maybe robotics or something, and an undergraduate degree again. You would need to weigh your options. Do I want to leave Nigeria? I've done 2 years, and then I'm going to go and start again in another institution. However, if it is a postgraduate degree, especially, for example, a master's, you often need a foundational program. So a scholarship like Chevening, for example, will not offer you a master's. So for Chevening, you need to apply to the school yourself. However, to apply to the school, you need a foundational degree, even if it's a HND, even if it's a BSc. So in that case, that kind of scholarship, you will not get it while still doing a first degree, right? So more often than not, for a master's, you need a foundational program, HND, BSc, that can get you into that master's program. So definitely you cannot abandon school while applying for those opportunities. How do you go about the essay part? You need to document. There were lots of things that Damola shared earlier about his life skills, his journey, transferable skills. For example, as he was talking about, and Mr. Mobile was talking about the scanning. I was like, that's digitizing documents. You need to be able to document the opportunities, the skills that you gain along the way. And even no matter the context, for example, if you are taking a Bible reading in church, it is a public speaking opportunity and you can document it as well. So the essay questions are often, for example, for Chevening, we had 4 essay questions, right? There was one about how do you use your networking skills? Give us an example, practical example, right? Once you have a, once you have a list or a database, let me put it that way, of things that you have done, how you have used your network, how you have used for example, after this call, if through Sheun you get an opportunity in a school in the UK, that could be a relevant example. So essentially for those essays, you need to be able to document your experiences so that you can draw on them when you are filling the essay questions. For the law question, I did not study law, so I am not 100% sure how to respond. However, there were people in my Chevening set that, not in my school, but Nigerians that got the Chevening opportunity that are lawyers, right? So in terms of the masters that they did, it was something that was relevant to the Nigerian context and coming back to practice in Nigeria. So I would say that you need a bit more research. Because I'm not in the law field, I cannot say for certain how best to approach this. However, I can tell you that there were people in my set that were lawyers and they did a master's program and then they came back to Nigeria to practice. There was a question about entrepreneurship and what you should have in mind. That's a broad question, but let me just say that the first thing you start with is an idea. So whatever area that you want to make the change, whatever area you want to focus your business on. And the next thing is to do a bit of research, understand where the need is for that idea. So for example, let me give an example. If you are looking at, okay, so you've been looking at these guys, this bookies that push trucks, and you're like, we can do better with this fetching of water for people. Can we make it digitized? Can we blah, blah, blah? You cannot sell that idea in Okwebi, Ikeja, because they have good water supply. Their borehole is working, their pump is working, there's water in their house. So your question is, if we're digitizing this idea of the barrow pushers that bring water to people's houses when there's no water, where is the context that fits? So you need to do a bit of research to understand the idea that you have in mind. Where exactly can it work? The next thing you then need to look at is what, who, and how. So in terms of what do you need to actually fulfill this idea? You said you want to do the barrow pusher, you want to digitize it, you want to make it more professional, what do you need? So in this context, maybe you want to use an app, call my barrow and something like that. You want to create an app, you need to have somebody build that for you. You need to have the financial resources to market that app, for example. Who do you need in terms of your team members. So maybe you're not very good at marketing, you're good at conceptualizing, you need a marketer on your team, you need people in operations that would be able to supervise the barrow pushers. Maybe you start off with 5 pushers in this area and then you build on it, you know. That's a random idea, but essentially you need to think about the what, who, and how that will help you to bring that idea to life. And of course, on the soft skills side, let me put it that way, you need, I talked about it earlier, there's a mental, emotional side to entrepreneurship, especially when things are not going as planned, where you thought, by the first month, we are going to hit 2 million users. We're going to sell in all the areas in Lagos, and then you are not even able to sell within your compound, you know. So that can be very humbling. There's that need to have the strength to be able to push through that and keep the goal in mind while going for it. And finally, I think is something that is useful is to have mentors in the field. Personally, I had somebody who had been in business for several years before I was, and she had navigated similar sector, you know, so she understood the challenges and was able to guide me. It may be useful for you as well to get somebody that can mentor you, guide you, especially if they are within your sector and their experience can have an impact within your business. So I hope I've been able to respond to the questions that were assigned to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ojolape. So there's another question, but what we'll do is just so we can accommodate some of the other questions for the panelists, as I think there's a question around the interview questions for Shivning. If you remember them, just send them to us. We'll send a summary of the meeting to all those who registered so that they would have those things. And I think somebody else is asking for me to summarize Toyosi's, the key takeaways from Toyosi's session. We will do that and send it to you offline so that we can take some of the more pointed questions here. So I think there's a question for Damola before we go to Toyosi's, because Toyosi's is about a job in civil service. So Damola, I think the 2 questions directed at you are related to some of our participants asking, is getting involved in politics in school, is engaging in school politics part of exposure as a student? I think is someone's question. Another one said, I think something in the same vein, that being involved in school politics can be very demanding, or working in school. And if you have a very, what's the word now? If you're involved in a program, an academic program that is quite intense, how do you balance those competing interests? So he said, so in summary, what practical advice would you give on how to show up confidently, prepare effectively, and build the right work ethic to handle such responsibilities without burning out? And then there's these politics also, that if you can keep it really pointed so we can take some of Shion's question, although I think Shion's question, well, we'll let Shion answer our question. So can you answer that really quick, and then so 3 minutes.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. So the first question, which is asking about advice on how to show up and, you know, handle responsibilities without burning out. I feel like I didn't really personally get involved in any extracurricular activities in school until my final year. And I wish that I had done that like much earlier. But when you do any extracurricular activities that you actually enjoy, I don't think you would look at it as extra work for you. If something that you have fun doing, it to be almost like an escape from whatever course you're studying. So I studied business admin, so it might not have been as demanding as somebody who's studying computer science. But for people who have really demanding courses, I'd say just try to space it out don't jumble everything together, and you're leaving class at 5, you have a meeting at 5:30, you're there till 9, we're doing your project work till 11 p.m, you're going to sleep at 12, waking up at 2 to continue something. So I feel like for me, I just had to learn how to like create his schedule so that everything could fit into the schedule. So the schedule that you're building is going to be around your degree, not you building your degree around every other thing else, or your degree schedule around every other thing else. I think once you are able to create a schedule that works, it would seem less as you burning out, and it will become something that is just second nature to you. And also I wouldn't advise succumbing to peer pressure, for example, and doing things that you don't want to do, like getting involved in clubs or extracurricular activities that you don't want to do. So if someone is pushing you to join drama club and drama club is taking 4 hours of your Thursdays, then if it's something that you're actually interested in, then I would advise that you look for something that you actually like, something that you would enjoy doing, so that you wouldn't see it as a waste of time. You would see it as, okay, this is my way to escape from the demands of school for 4 hours once a week, so that you can just, kind of relax. And for engaging in school politics, is that part of exposure? School politics in the sense of like students' council and maybe club presidents, heads of departments, or maybe the class presidents. I believe that that's fine. That gives you exposure as a student. But there's also now like, debate clubs, for example, where schools organize like debates and everybody comes to watch you argue about particular points with, against another team and everything. So school politics in the sense of like you're running for student council president, you're running for treasurer, you're running for secretary. Those also form a part of exposure. Yes, because by the time you advertise or you're campaigning, people get to see, people start to wonder, oh, who is this person? Who is that person? And then before you know it, by the time you win your position, everybody knows who you are. And if you already have like, a good relationship with a lot of people, it just helps build your network, helps build relationships with the school community as a whole.
Right. So very quickly, Damola, in 1 minute, I think somebody's saying that sometimes when you feel unprepared for some of those volunteer opportunities and then you show up and you don't do really well, and that impacts on your self-esteem. How do you navigate that very quickly? Because I would like us to take the question for Sean, and we just have 10 minutes. So how do you work with, so in your experience, did you always walk in confident? What advice do you have for this person? They're concerned about not being prepared for wanting to put themselves out there. And so if they put themselves out there, they're not prepared and it impacts on their self-esteem. How do you navigate that? 1 minute.
So I think for me, it's always just been a thing of showing up. Showing up is the most important thing you could do. When you show, people will know that, okay, you made an effort to be here today, help in whatever way that you can to just, do what it is you can do. But in terms of like now doubting yourself and thinking, oh, you shouldn't have been here, or you shouldn't have, come here. Think of it this way, no matter what it is you do, people will always have things to say. So if you go there and you feel like, oh, you were not like a visible participant, people couldn't really see what impact you're making. It's like, oh, they would complain that, oh, he didn't do anything or she didn't do anything when she got there. If you go there and you show up and show off and you're doing everything that you could possibly do, people will also say, oh, he came, he did this, he did that, no problem. But there will also be people even there that be like, oh, he's doing so much, he can't sit in one place, he's doing orishi, like the Yorubas would say. So I think for me, it's just trying to that confidence needs to come from inside you, that, okay, even if you came this time and you were not able to do everything you had planned to do, there would always be another opportunity. Volunteer experiences are many, they are pretty much endless. Just keep doing your research for whatever conferences you can volunteer for, whatever opportunities you have to volunteer. And over time, it's not something that you have to do once and it's not something that you would do once and then you might end up doing well. It might take you a couple of tries to be like, okay, I did it the first time. This is what I learned from this situation. I didn't do this well, I didn't do that well. So that next time when you have another volunteer experience, it's like, okay, the last time this happened, this and this and this are the things I did wrong, this and this and this are the things I did right. So you avoid the things you did wrong and try to work on the things you did right. And then also speak to, whoever it is that is heading, maybe if you volunteer for the like logistics department, for example, just speak to the person and try to put yourself out there and be like, okay, how can I help? What can I do? I'm a bit confused. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do here. Always ask questions on just to gain some sort of clarity on what you're meant to be doing. But always remember that the confidence and everything around that, the emotional and mental burden that you might have is from within. So if you're able to talk to yourself and be like, okay, I've done this once, I did this wrong. When I'm doing it again, I'm going to change certain things about me. Then by the time you do it 2-3 times, you become a pro at volunteering.
Thank you, Damola. Thank you very much. For Ayomide, you had questions for Seun around Ayomide, an anonymous attendee. I think Seun was responding that for those asking about the law degree and going for a master's, and I think Seun was saying there are LLM degrees abroad. Do your research and know how it will impact your career. And I do know that there are some people who have gone for masters abroad and have come back. So you get your master's degree, you go to law school, so you're ready to practice in Nigeria, and you go to do your master's in a specialized field, and you can come back or do whatever you want to do with that master's degree. So yes, you can get a law degree from Nigeria and then practice abroad. Seun was also responding to vying for a fully funded scholarship. What are your opinions on or advice on that? And there's a response about so Ayomide, if you look at the chat, I think Seun has responded to you. So we have that covered. So Toyosi, there is a question for you about whether or not it is relevant to working for government and volunteering. Is it relevant? I'm trying to kind of see the context of the question, but so Toyosi, please, what do you think about getting a job with government civil service? Is it more lucrative and fulfilling than volunteer work? So Toyosi, give it your best shot. Working for civil service and volunteering where there's no work, which one is more lucrative?
That's a good question. I like that. That was the one that was given to me. So I think it goes back to my fifth point, and that is say, stay mission driven and keep your compass. What I mean by that is, at the end of the day, it really does come down to clarity about your personal goals and what you want to contribute. Now, a role in civil service can be rewarding. It can give you stability, it can give you structure, it can even influence public policy. But on the other hand, volunteering is also more flexible. It can get you closer and faster to those things that you are passionate about, where you want to see. That's Aliko Dangote type, I want to be, construction magnate. It allows you build your skills, network, and credibility in the area of your interest. So we've all spoken about volunteering and about how it gets you in the door of what you want to do, where you want to be, exposure, the kind of conversations that you know will drive you towards that career growth. But I would say that the question should be more, rather than asking me which is more lucrative or more fulfilling, I would just say, I would encourage you to say, what do I want to achieve in the next few years? Where do I see myself growing? It goes back to you. What is your personal compass? What is your personal aspiration? Where do you want to be? And where do you see yourself growing? If your focus is to say, gain this hands-on experience, like Damola said, build your relationships. If you want to work in, say, oil and gas, you've already gone to an unpaid internship in, for example, Mobile, you want to establish yourself in that area, then volunteering would definitely accelerate this. I gave my story about how I volunteered for Bridge, and I stayed the course, and obviously I got the job, but it was in a place of passion. It was a job and a career path that I could see myself staying the long haul. Now, civil service, if civil service is also your long-term goal, then intentionally developing skills and insights in related fields can also provide strong foundation and enhance your opportunity when that time comes. So if you want to go into civil service, you also need to put in the work. You can't just say, oh, well, you could if you want to, but then what value would you add? So develop those skills as well. If you want to go into public policy management, civil service, but you need to put in the work. At the end of the day, I would simply summarize it and say both parts are valuable and both parts have value. It's just choosing which one aligns to your purpose, which one aligns to your vision. And then at the end of the day, you do know that when you sometimes blend both of them, it can, spark magic. It can be the most powerful approach. So volunteering and, choosing for civil service or volunteering and volunteering deep, but both of them still go back to what is your vision? What do you want to achieve, and what do you see yourself growing? Thank you.
Thank you, Toyosi. And I think there Thank you, our panelists. I think we should all, an applause, use your icon. Our panelists have, I think, done justice to the job. So you can use your icon and say thank you if you've learned something. And I want to believe you did, because most of those who joined us have stayed on. So thank you, Ujulakwe. Thank you, Toyosi. Thank you, Sheon. Thank you, Damola, for sharing your experiences with us. I hope that we've all taken away something that will guide our path. Somebody's giving you the love sign, love, 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 and telling you thank you so much in the chat. So if you're following the chat, thank you so much for all that you've shared today. For those of us online, we are all online actually. So we will curate all of the summary of all of their presentations and share them in a slide with you. So that with Olayinka, I see your message. We will answer, we will get to Toyo, we will share Toyosi's highlights with you, and we'll actually share highlights from all of the panelists with everyone. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. We hope it has been worth your while. Please take the time to complete the survey so we know, we can learn from this session what else we should be delivering to you. And if you you'd like us to bring Toyosi Lakwe and back again, if they would agree for us, you know, so for a dedicated session on each of them, let us know and we'll do that. So thank you. I want to thank the CKF and Adara teams at the back end. They did a phenomenal job. It was just going smoothly, no network interruption. The questions were flowing. So Team Adara, Team CKF, thank you. Fantastic job done. All of our SOAS scholars out there, thank you for keeping date with us. If you're not a SOAS scholar, you're not an Adara digital skills person, thank you for joining us. Check us out online. Have a good Saturday, everybody. See you next time, I hope. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Ofe.
Yes, I'm here, ma.
Okay, just us, right? It's just us online now, right? Okay, no,
No,
okay, all right.
there are a number of people.
So just stay online.